There we go.
Good morning. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show, all. I am Dana Dubois.
I'm Lawrence Winterman.
That's
That's
my
my
best
best
friend. That's
friend.
my best friend.
I should be pointing at the camera. That's my best friend.
I know. Because before I was like, I was never quite sure where you would end up showing and if they stack us or side by side us. So
Yeah.
I'll just say, that's my best friend. How are you,
The thing
Lawrence?
is, on YouTube, we're broadcasting in landscape and portrait, so we're
Oh,
wrong, regardless. Right.
right. I
Or we're
can't.
right, regardless.
I guess, yeah, let's glasses half full. Why not? How are you this morning, Lawrence?
Uh, I am okay. I am, a little overwhelmed with work, as I have been often these last many weeks, and
Yeah.
but I'm good.
I do find, and I know there's probably a lot of folks in the chat who will relate to this, but I do find that um, I can set goals for how much I want to get done in Substack, but I can be doing things for hours and hours, and then I come through it and I'm like, what did I do? Like the mucking around in Substack takes a long time. And in part, I think it's because we're interrupted all the time because there's so many awesome people, and so we're like, oh, I have to restack that. I have to comment on that. I have to respond to that. And so we're not working in isolation, right? Um,
Right.
we're working in like the most brilliant sort of distraction you could ever work through. Like the
Right.
distraction is half the
We're
point.
the gifted kids in a classroom with a bunch of other gifted kids and keep getting distracted because somebody wants to tell
Right?
us this amazing new thing they discovered, or
Right. And the frenzy of the news cycle, of course, doesn't help one bit.
yeah.
So all of it together just results in this like, oh, I worked for a really long time and here I am. I
Right.
did one, maybe one thing got done,
I worked for a
but it's
really
also,
long time, and also I'm not sure that my younger self would exactly understand what I
oh,
what I got
r-
accomplished.
right. Not remotely, not at
Right.
all.
And my parents and grandparents absolutely would not understand the context of this being a job where I got things done.
Right. Yeah, no, not at all. So you sat in a chair and stared at a box and typed with people
Right.
and
And that's your job.
and and
Okay.
you and you got more
We need
people.
to get her some help.
Right. I did launch something yesterday though, Lawrence.
That's very exciting.
And uh-oh, I have to do my product placement and say we might have a problem. Empty bag on my desk.
She goes through those like
Okay,
water.
okay, so here's the thing, and this will tie together. I launched something new yesterday, and a big part of it is that there's audio recording involved that has to be pristine, right? Do you have any idea how many of those I gave to her to keep her quiet while I read a story out
Oh
loud
yeah, it's all
yesterday?
coming clear now.
Yes. And it took a few tries. There was one that I got like three-quarters of the way through, and she barked once, and I was like one bark or meow, and I'm going to let it go because I have to.
Oh
But then
friend, you really need to use Premiere Pro or something. You need audio editing software so that you don't have to restart the whole thing over again.
yeah, the thing is, I'm just using Substack Native, so I don't even think I can edit if I want to.
I
I don't,
mean, you
maybe I
could
can.
edit something and then upload it for
Yeah,
sure.
I have thought of that. I haven't done that yet. When I'm like, I could, and I don't know how to use that tool yet, and so that will slow me down, perhaps along the way. But can I talk about what the project is? I think a lot
Yes.
of you here know that, but um, I have finally and officially launched my, like, I have to come up with a name for this. It's like where my memoir lives, and it's called. Hold on, let me open the page here so I have it at the ready as I announce it. It's called I Write Out Loud, and every day, or nearly every day, I am going to post a new piece of memoir.
Mm,
Both my it's a living project, so it's new stories. It is bringing older stories over to Substack, and with each one, I'm recording it so that you can read or you can listen. And I have the overview finally live late yesterday, which I will put in the chat here. And yesterday, I shared my first story with the audio recording, and then I went live a few hours later. I'm going to do that with each story to give like a behind the scenes um,
Amazing.
recap. And there were so many whatevers there. There were so many people there. It was very fun. I'm going to do it again today. I'm going to go live at 4 p.m. East Coast, 1 p.m. Um, Pacific time. And my news story today is one from the archive. It is called My Dad, Dementia and the Things We Don't Forget. And it's a story I published nearly a year ago on Medium. I also posted it shortly after on the Memoirist on Substack. When I first got here, it was a like, oh, I should post to a publication that already exists to
Nice.
try to get readers. And this is like part of what the project is about is I have these things all over the place and I just want to like hug them all in one spot and make them look
Aw.
beautiful and all together.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense. That's
yeah,
amazing. I'm really excited for this.
Thank you. I'm so excited about it too. So, um, I would love restacks of these stories. I am publishing these to Dana Dubois Writes. I'm going to probably cross post every now and then to Gen XC, but this is a me project, not a Gen XC project primarily. So, I have a very small following over there because everybody is over here on Gen XC and the Daily Whatever show. So, if you all would be so kind as to read and restack and comment or what have you, that would help elevate the stories because you know how Substack is.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah,
no
it's all
signal,
about audience size and traction and restacks
yes.
and yes, exactly.
Oh, and I see that Shayla is here. We met yesterday on the live, and she is my first founding member of the
Aw,
I Write Out Loud project. Thank you for coming, Shayla. It was
thanks,
so nice to
Shayla.
meet
That's
you
awesome.
yesterday and to have your support. Can you guys hear Kira whimpering in the
Oh
background?
yeah, yeah. We can
Okay.
hear her today.
Uh, let me go grab a treat and open the back door before we welcome our guest on so she's not interrupting then. Lawrence, do
Okay.
you think you could for 30 seconds be charming?
Oh, I'll try. I will
Try to be
try. With my
charming.
new haircut, I will try to be charming. Um,
Ooh, it is nice. It's hard to see on my little phone screen that I'm looking at, but when I look
mhm.
here, very handsome.
Yeah, thanks. I was fishing for that one.
Oh, you're always handsome, Lawrence. And you're not in a t-shirt with a saying today. You're just in like this nice blue.
Yeah, I this is a Christmas present from my family. So,
Oh,
and it's got long sleeves and it's still absolutely ridiculously cold here. So,
yeah, I feel like we are anecdotally all talking about how cold it is, and we are collectively news-wise not talking about like why is it so cold? It's snowing in Florida, in parts of Florida.
right.
In
Yeah,
South Florida, it was
nothing to do
30
with climate
degrees.
change, everybody.
No,
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
right, that
Yeah,
global warming thing was obviously a lie.
right. Yeah,
Our
big hoax. Big hoax.
freaking president said that. Makes me crazy. Okay, 30 seconds, Lawrence, take
All
it
right.
away.
All right. Hey everybody. Our guest today is Teri Leigh. We will bring her on in just a moment when Dana comes back from giving Kira treats. Here, I'll give you an update. Some of you may know that on Sunday, the full moon, I did an impromptu ceremony at the moment of the full moon where I lit a black candle and I don't want to say I banished my ex from my life, but let's just say I cut cord with the guy that I just broke up with a couple months ago. Because I think, as people know, I've been struggling. It's been a really hard breakup, and I felt like I needed to do something, and that did not include calling him and telling him what an asshole he is. So there you go. I'm feeling slightly better for having done my candle ceremony on Sunday. Um,
I'm glad
yeah,
you did that. Lawrence, the double whammy of the candle ceremony and the nose photo.
yeah.
I
Well, I figured why shouldn't Substack see me at my weirdest and worst?
and I think that's a really nice tie-in
It
to
it
our
is
very
actually a perfect
special.
segue because somebody who talks about being the intersection of grounded and woo, which is I like to think where I also live, is our guest today, Teri Leigh. Teri, welcome to the Daily Whatever Show.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Dana. It's wonderful to be here. And yes, I am a full-blown weirdo.
All right,
You
me
have that
too.
at the very
Welcome.
top of your profile. So you are one of the, this is one thing I love about Substack is I can read, like something will come up in my feed from someone I don't know yet. And that was you, I think a week ago, maybe a little longer. No, about a week ago. And I looked, and first of all, you have the purple heart next to your name, which the purple heart is like, that's what I leave everywhere. So I was like, kin.
That's
Here's
my
a
emoji.
kindred spirit. And then I went to your profile and it said like, I'm a weirdo, want to be friends. I think is what it says across the top.
Yes.
And I was like, I do want to be friends. Will you come on my show? So thank you for humoring my weirdo need to meet the Purple Heart Lady from Minneapolis and to hear some. Yeah. Would you, we'd love if you would introduce yourself to our audience here at the Daily Whatever Show.
Well, I am a Minnesotan by heart. I was born in South Dakota, but I've lived here in Minnesota most of my life. And like Garrison Keillor said, and you mentioned it, Lawrence, earlier, the gifted kids, we are, children are all above average here.
Yeah.
We are weirdos and we are highly, highly sensitive and highly, highly empathic and empathetic. And I think that's why things are the way they are right now. And myself, I write a lot. I write 5 publications on Substack.
5. Let's hear about all 5.
What?
Let's hear about what are the 5 that you write on.
The main one, the one you found, was Hush, Highly Unapologetic Sensitive Humans. And that one has grown by like 4,000 subscribers in the last 7 days because that note you found me on just went crazy. It had 50, I think it's up to 60,000 likes and like 15,000 retweets. Sharing just little tidbits of here's what's life is really like in Minnesota, both the hard stuff and the way we're showing up. So that's one. Another one I write is called Words or Spells, where I talk about language and the alphabet and how letters and sounds really do cast spells on people. Like the way that you hear a sound is how energy changes in the vibration of things. My most recent article on there is telling people to stop using the phrase fuck ice because that just makes things worse.
Ooh, we're gonna come back to that. I want you to continue your introduction, but I have not read that one.
I also write Hobbit and the Owl, which is a weekly post with my husband and I, who's also a weirdo oddball like myself. He's more introverted than I am. Neither of us ever hardly leave our house, by the way. So that's just what it's
as
like.
An introvert.
He's the Hobbit, I'm the Owl, and we write about relationship. And my full-time job is my other 2 publications. I run a cohort program on Substack for highly sensitive, unapologetic humans who are creators. And so we do a 10-month, very small, 10 to 15 person cohort on how to be a creator in the online world and save your integrity and save your heart and not get caught in the hustle culture of being a writer online. And then I also run a small cohort program called Abundance Money Mindset. And that is a place where we blend the woo-woo of like law of attraction with the practical of how do you actually have the habits and the practices of managing your money. So how do you have a relationship with money and keep it practical? So those are my 5.
Brilliant.
Wow,
I adore
that
you
is
already,
the most
Teri.
multi-hyphenate list.
You are my kind of people.
Uh-oh, Lawrence, I can't hear you.
I heard him.
This happens to us a lot.
Teri, can you hear me?
I can hear you both.
Okay. Dana,
can you hear me, Lawrence?
I think it's you.
Okay, so either we need to have a conversation through you. I'm actually going to leave and come back because whenever this happens, I have to leave and come back. We have no idea what's happening. This is like a highly sensitive StreamYard when it comes to the 2 of us. The last week, this happens a lot. I'll be right back. Okay, Lawrence?
Okay.
And Teri and everybody.
Yeah, this is just a bug with StreamYard that we've recently discovered, Teri, which is that when we bring the guest on, for some reason, Dana loses my audio. I have no idea how that happens. But
I have a tip for you, Lawrence. You said you were burning the candle for your ex,
Yeah, my ex-boyfriend.
go put his name on a piece of paper, put it
Yeah.
in a jar, fill that jar with water, and put it way back in the freezer. Put him literally on ice.
Yes.
And
are we doing
put him in a place where
we're
you
doing
won't
a
even see
spell.
it there. And I swear he will freeze out. You will not feel the charge towards him within a couple of days. And by the time you forget about him being in the freezer,
Mhm.
all that charge and all that trigger and all that energy will be gone.
Thank you, Teri. I will do that. Yeah, I literally am going to go do that as soon as we get off the show.
Wow.
Because I've actually used that in the past, and for some reason I hadn't thought about it this
We
time.
forget about it when we actually need it.
Right. It is, and I really need it right now. Like, this is a very highly charged situation. It was a very intense, I thought very genuine relationship. And I am swimming in anger right now. Dana can attest. I've never been angrier.
Well, welcome to the state of Minnesota.
Yeah. No. Oh my God. Right. That's,
you can't put ice on ice.
yeah. Well, and it ties into something. So we've got a friend on Substack who's been on our show before called Your Weirdo Friend. That's their handle. And they said a phrase to us that really just, Dana and I both were stunned by it, because it was one of those like, oh my God, that's true.
Keep repeating it because it's so good.
Yeah. And, right. We keep talking about it. And it's basically that this administration is domestic violence at scale. That what we are experiencing from the White House is the gaslighting and the shaming, the anger, the yelling, that goes along with domestic violence, right? And troubled relationship with a narcissist. And that's what we're all experiencing. And you're right, Minnesota is right there. Minnesota is on the front lines, experiencing it very much firsthand.
Well, we did call them weird.
Right. And as we all know, God forbid you call somebody who desperately wants to not be identified as weird, and they will lose their absolute shit on you.
But we're all weird, so we get it.
Right.
Right. I missed the part about the ice spell in its entirety, but I do believe I know what you're talking about. And I love this tie into ice in Minnesota. The ice spells in the freezer. Can I tell one funny anecdote? And then I want to talk about that. You'll see our show is basically, we're letting you in on our 45-year friendship here. Lawrence and I have known each other since the 4th grade. So we are indeed very long-term best friends. And so a lot of anecdotes come with our conversations. I had a housemate who lived with me for about 5 years who moved out last June, and they were very witchy and did a lot of spells, and they were a ball of contradiction. They had a lot of good qualities and a lot of not such good qualities. And in leaving, they did not leave in the best of terms or ways, but they left behind, there's a spare freezer or like a fridge freezer in my basement that we shared, and they left behind all their spells. They forgot them. And then they became mine, but they were not my burden to carry. And so Lawrence is kind of my spiritual guru. So I was like, what do I do with the frozen spells? And I ended up taking them and releasing them into Puget Sound and one summer day, and just saying, like, you are, at Lawrence's advice, you are not my burden to carry. I release you. Hopefully I don't have, like, who knows what following me around now, but
right.
Let the water cleanse it. Yeah.
It was full of notes, and some had like trinkets frozen in the ice. I don't like, nothing crazy that would harm the environment. Too bad. But maybe some of those have washed ashore, and people are like, what is this mysterious pendant I have found?
Right. Cleansed by the ocean, by salt water. Yeah.
That is the hope. How do we cleanse ourselves and put this other ice into the ocean? That was a terrible segue.
And maybe this is a kind of a piece of that. Don't say fuck ice, right? Like,
yes.
What should we be saying instead? What is, like, the word magic?
Love. The answer to everything you're talking about is love. Like, and that's going to be the hardest, that we have to dig deep, and we have to find a way to love this administration. And Love
Ooh, that's hitting my heart right here. I have to tell you, my every part of me wants to be like, no. How do you love this administration, Teri?
You can't kill hate with hate. The only way to overcome hate is with love.
Mm.
And so you have to look at all these people as humans who have struggled or something that's making them hurt people. And the answer is love. And so look at Minnesota and you look at the clergy who just this weekend trained 1,600 people in a church how to sing in protest. And then they marched down the streets of Minnesota in the Minneapolis streets and they sang. I have it written down.
I think Amazing Grace is what they were singing.
Amazing Grace is one that they're singing. They were singing.
If you want to absolutely destroy me, sing Amazing Grace.
Out of love for each other, we will carry each other through. Out of love for each other will carry us through. Our love for each other will carry us through. Singing that over and over again as they walk the streets. And now those 1,600 people have been
honestly,
trained
I'm about to cry.
to go sing that in their own smaller communities, not just down the streets of downtown Minneapolis, but to take it to the suburbs, to take it to the small towns. And then they post that on social media, and hopefully those millions of people watching us are then singing that themselves. Those sounds, those vibrations have energy. And rather than saying, fuck ICE, say, our love for each other will carry us through. Love, love, love. Bad Bunny said it at the Grammys. We've got to love. And that means loving the individual souls. Have you heard the story about the women who were caught by ICE and one of the ICE agents had a seizure?
No.
Oh my God.
Women in Minneapolis, they were obstructions. They were obstructing or interfering, and they were caught and taken. And on the drive, the guy in the front seat had a seizure, and none of the other agents knew what to do. And the women convinced the ICE agents to take off their handcuffs so they could help this guy. And they took him out of the truck and made sure that everything was okay and called 911, and an ambulance came and took care of his seizure. But they made sure that he was safe until that happened. These two women did. And then they handcuffed him back up and took him back into custody.
Wow.
They still took them into custody, even though they potentially saved the life of the ICE agent.
Yes. And then when interviewed later, these women said, they're humans. Why wouldn't we help them? That's love.
Right.
That's the way we have to love these people. We have to love everybody. And it's the hardest thing we have to do, but we have to do it. And I'm writing about this in the next couple weeks on Hush, but I want to tell you, this is so ingrained in Minnesotans that it comes from one of my readers wrote, from diapers, we have been trained in this way. Do you guys play the game Duck, Duck? What do you call it?
Duck, Duck, Goose.
Yeah, that's not the game. Here in Minnesota,
what do you mean that's not the game?
Here in Minnesota, we don't play Duck, Duck, Goose. We play Duck, Duck, Gray Duck. So from preschool, we are taught when we play Duck, Duck, Gray Duck, we go around the circle and we don't just say duck, duck, duck. That's boring. We're more intelligent than that, but we're also more open-minded and heartful and loving. We name each duck. Here's a pink duck. Here's a purple duck. Here's a polka dot duck. This is a paisley duck. We name each duck as an individual identity and character and personality, touching each head gently and tenderly until we get to the gray duck. And then when it's the gray duck, we chase each other around.
Wow. And everyone in Minnesota is raised doing this.
Everyone in Minnesota is raised doing this. I didn't know until I went off to college in Wisconsin that the game was really Duck, Duck, Goose everywhere else.
To the rest of the country, it's Duck, Duck, Goose.
What does that difference mean to you?
What it means to me is that we in Minnesota are highly creative, because we don't want to play just some boring duck, 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 duck. We want to we shout out the differences. We embrace the diversity. We appreciate how each person is an individual. And that's how I remember, like as a 5-year-old playing that game, I remember thinking, what am I going to name this person? What kind of duck is this person? And it took longer to get around the circle because of that. And it
Because
was
you,
always like a little, that tap on my head from the other kid calling me something. It was like, what do they see me as?
Right, right. It's a really, yeah, it's an interesting kind of oh gosh, what am I trying to say? Like you're getting a sense of how other people view you based on what word
yeah,
they choose to describe you with, right?
And we are imbued with things like that as a culture from birth here in Minnesota. And every state, every city has their own cultures like that. But what is on highlight right now, because ICE is here and Minnesota is doing what Minnesota does, the whole world is looking at us saying, why are they doing this different? And this is it. This is our culture. I was watching a video by Chris Hayes. He's that guy on MSNBC, or he used to
Sure.
be on
Yeah.
MSNBC, and he was
Ms.
here in
Now is what
Minnesota.
we call it. It
yeah, we call it Ms. Now.
Is now, whatever. He was saying he was here in Minnesota, and he said, I can't get people to go on camera with me. And he
Oh,
was saying that he thought it was because they were afraid, which is partially true. Like if we go
Mhm.
on camera, our faces on camera, that means that ICE can get us,
sure.
which I'll tell you examples of how that's happening from people I know. But it's also just that we're humble. We don't want to go on camera. We don't want to be portrayed around as all the good stuff we're doing individually, because
Interesting.
we're shy, we're quiet, we're taught to be humble, to be kind, and that's just the way we are. I mean, look at Prince. He donated millions and millions of dollars anonymously
Mhm.
all over Minnesota, all over the world, but mainly his hometown. He really, really, he wanted to just support his neighbor and not be called out for it. He kept it hush. So there's part of what Chris Hayes was saying was true, but people don't want to go on camera because they don't want to be in the spotlight.
Mm.
It's how we support each other underground, like the mycelial network.
Right.
But he's also right in that, like I just heard at dinner with a friend of mine last night, one of her friends, she's been doing the donating. She'll drive to church, collect the materials and supplies, and then bring them to the families. And she had an encounter with ICE and they took her picture. And the very next day, her TSA pre-check and global entry was revoked.
You're kidding. Oh my God.
It's happening all over the place.
The next day, they have the ability to do it that quickly.
I mean, we know they're like connecting to Palantir and, Peter Thiel based, giant data centers. And of course, I mean, yeah, why have a panopticon in a giant database if you can't change, the records immediately, right?
Right.
Why indeed? I just found your note, the note that I found you through, which I had your story pulled up and I just realized the note is right at the top. Karen, our awesome moderator, might have already put this in the chat, but if not, just in case I put it in here. I loved these observations. Like, I totally understand why this has over 61,000 likes. We're all hungry for news direct out of Minnesota. Because we don't trust what we're getting through mainstream media. We're not
Right.
getting very much through mainstream media. Um, I'm seeing a lot on Substack, but what I loved about your note here is that it's so slice of life. It's so, you're bringing the ordinary forward and showing the extraordinary acts
Mm.
that taken by the citizens of I shouldn't just say citizens, by the people of Minneapolis. And this is from 8 days ago. Um, it almost felt like the opening to like a montage to a movie. And I'm like, I want to go to Glam Doll Donuts, and I definitely want to go to the Smitten Kitten because I have been reading about what the work they're doing. Like, can you tell folks who maybe haven't read your note, and it is hard to grab a URL from the chat, so they may not be able to go directly to it and find it, but like, what are some of the things that you found important to up level that are happening in Minnesota that people should know about? And I can read them here too if you're
Yeah,
like, I
let me
don't
read
remember
a
what I
couple.
put in.
I have more. And what I've been doing now is this is part of my sanity being in Minnesota, is that
Yeah.
when I scroll social media, now I'm scrolling to find these stories. And I'm looking through my own nature of my own neighbors, and where do I find the stories of the local small businesses and what they're doing, and the local people and what they're doing. So yeah, the day Alex Preddy was killed, Glam Doll Donuts was the business right across the street where the first video was shot from.
Right.
And they opened their doors and, of course, gave away their donuts. And as people showed up, they became a warming house because it was below zero.
Yeah.
And then quickly they became a medic center because of all the tear gas and pepper balls and so forth. And not just them, every business on Eat Street opened like that.
Right.
Like every business. And even just last week on Saturday, I went to visit Alex Preddy and Renee Good's memorials. And every business has a big, huge thermos of water at their front entrance with cups. And at both, at the not entrances, but at the ends of both of the memorials, there are average everyday people with a card table giving away water, giving away snacks, giving away hand warmers. And it's not organized by any organization. These are just what Minnesotans are doing.
Right.
It's that kind of underground love. Another example that is not in my notes yet, that'll go out probably tomorrow, is Jackalope Tattoo. It's an all-women's tattoo parlor in Minneapolis. They did a flash sale where they opened at 7 a.m. and they stayed as long as they needed to finish everyone who could get one. And they did flash tattoos all day long, and they raised over $22,000.
Wow.
And did 85 tattoos, and they didn't close until 1 a.m. 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. and they had 250 people in line.
Wow. And they just donated all of the funds that they
donated all the funds. They did a raffle. They did a couple other things, and they raised over $22,000.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing little things like that. And
is Minneapolis like a utopia? Because in my mind, it always has been this like gem of a city that I've never been to. And I wrote about this in one of my stories, that I've always felt like it's a sister city to Seattle, where I live. That like one of my closest friends out here is from Minneapolis. Like she grew up there and she still considers it home and loves it. And she is quite literally the nicest friend I have, like just the kindest friend I have. Like she is the one that if anyone is in trouble, like she will be there. She's the one who leaves like little candy hearts on all of our doorsteps when it's Valentine's Day, or when I had a big birthday during pandemic, she hired someone to put 50 plastic flamingos in my yard. So like she remembers everything. She makes great, like comforting food. And then I have a lot of friends from Seattle who have moved to Minneapolis, who I've been hearing from, who are really scared right now. But in the story I wrote, like wherever Minneapolis goes, it's just a bellwether for other cities like Seattle and Portland and the other blue bubbles. But I feel like Seattle has changed a lot, and not necessarily for the better. It's gotten, more corporate, wealthier, less weird. And I feel like Minneapolis is still wonderful and weird. Is that true?
We're normal and weird in our normalness. Like we just do kind things for each other, but we also deal with extreme cold every year. And the way to survive that is to be kind. And at the same time, we do have fraud, and we're going to admit it. It happened. The fraud happened. And I honestly believe it's probably happening everywhere, and we're the ones that found it.
Of course.
We're the state that caught the fraud. So now we're getting all the heat because it happened, but I think it's happening in every state.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
but we are really well organized. And if you look at our government, we balance our budget here. We take care of our people. We're one of those states that we take in more, we give more to the feds than we get back. So we are taking care of the country. So to go all woo about it, we are the headwaters of the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River spills its waters through the whole country. What starts here goes everywhere and feeds and nourishes and washes and cleanses everywhere. And when you look at Minnesota, our rich, dark soil, we are one of the best places for agriculture. We have access to more fresh water with the Great Lakes and the 10,000 lakes. Like we are the land of pure water, and it's going through the whole country. It's no surprise to me that we are such a North Star to the world right now.
Right.
And we have our troubles, but we deal with them and we own to them and we figure them out as best we can. And so, yes, it's a utopia, but we deal with cold. Do you want to come live with 40 degrees below zero with wind chill?
I do not. Lawrence and I grew up in Florida. I loathe Florida, like we both do. I do love living somewhere that the weather is not considered ideal, but it is pretty temperate. Like if it gets in the 30s here, that's cold for Seattle. I have my back door open right now for the dog, and it's a little chilly in here. It's probably about 45 degrees. That's a good level of cold for me. I do have this theory, though, that I'm choosing my words carefully, of like people who live in places where the weather is imperfect are more resilient people. Typically, people who live in a climate where it's always sunny and nice and mild, like there is a lack of adaptability.
Yep.
That I think that there's truth to that. And what you just said about the soil and the clean water and the head of the Mississippi, like it just gave me goosebumps. What a beautiful way to think about the power that Minneapolis is putting into the world being represented like right in the earth.
Oh, and I'm seeing some of this stuff in the comments, and I want to address that. Like, how do you support fake daycares? And do you support illegal aliens breaking the law?
Wait, what comments are you looking at?
We have these same issues that the rest of the country does. We have fraud. We have, yes, there are some fake daycares, but if you really look at the big picture of it, there's a few compared to the many, many, many.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the fraud was perpetrated mainly by a white woman in the government.
Right.
She started it, and she preyed upon the Somalis and got them who are needy to go along with her. And it wasn't just that. And when you look at how many people we have that are good-hearted, doing the hard work people compared to the tiny percentage that are the fraudsters, you know, our state only has 130,000 immigrants or something like that. I don't know the numbers, but if you compare it to other parts of the country, it's minute.
Yes, that's true.
And then the numbers that are illegal are even smaller than that. And we're pretty darn good about following the rules and doing what we need to do to try to get them.
Right. I think it seems pretty clear that this was designed to go after Tim Walz in a way, right? That, like, you know, Trump sees Walz as a threat and, you know, basically went against Minneapolis and Minnesota because
we're one state that keeps voting blue.
Exactly. That didn't vote for him 3 times, and he holds a grudge. So kind of shifting just a smidge, Teri, I don't know if you listen to the Matt McNeil show on AM 950. So he's in Minneapolis. We're actually, Dana and I are both affiliated with Blue Amp Media as well. And Blue Amp simulcasts Matt's show every day at 4:05 p.m. And I've learned so much about Minneapolis and Minnesota from listening to his show. And the piece that you just mentioned blew me away because it's not a thing that you hear on the national media, that the state had actually already uncovered the malfeasance, and that the perpetrator of the malfeasance is a white woman who I think is actually a Trumper, and she had basically been preying on the Somali community, and the state government had already uncovered it and sort of turned it over to the feds saying, oh, hey, look, we found this fraud. And then Trump and his administration made it sound like they found the fraud and they were, you know, coming in and taking action, and that it was the fault of the Somalis. And so it's just this unbelievable, you know, it goes back to that gaslighting and, you know, this is domestic violence, abusive relationship at scale, right? That, you know, it's like saying, oh, we discovered this fraud. And then, you know, and then your partner punches you in the face for discovering the fraud.
Another example of that is they're saying to Minnesota, you need to cooperate. Hand over your bad guys in prison to us.
Your voter rolls.
We're not just your voter rolls, but like, hey, we've got illegal aliens in our prisons. We've got illegal aliens in our jails. And what happens is, it's always been this way. When those people are in prison and jail, we keep them until their term is up. They've served their time. And when they serve that time, we contact ICE and say, ICE, hey, here's this bad guy who's an illegal alien. It's your job now to deport them. What happens is ICE says, oh, we're too busy, and tells us to hold them. And that's illegal. We can't hold them.
Right.
And then they blame us for letting them back out. And then they get mad at us and say, you're not cooperating. You're not giving us the bad guys. So now we're going to go after everybody. You know, we play by the rules. We follow the laws. And if you look at, there was a judge this week who announced that he gave examples of over 96 orders. Judges' orders have been completely ignored by ICE here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Just in the last few weeks.
So frustrating. This is, when I saw your post, this was why I was like, I don't know who this Teri Leigh weirdo is, but I need her on the show because I want to hear firsthand what it looks like there. There is simply nothing else like hearing directly from the people of Minneapolis.
Right.
You also, in addition to the note, you wrote a story called The Ferocious Love of Being a Minnesotan Facing ICE. And I bet Karen has this link and has probably already shared it, but I also have it right here. So I'm going to put it in the chat for folks. And this story, it details you encountering kind of early-ish on in this siege of your city, several ICE agents in their big trucks and just having this unpleasant experience. And it's a really internal story because it's ICE coming up against your highly sensitive person processing and what it felt like in your body to have to witness the behavior of these men. Can you speak a bit to this story and talk, like, was this the first time that you encountered ICE, and kind of bring to life what it felt like for you in that moment?
So I want to preface this by saying I have yet to meet a Minnesotan who hasn't had an encounter with ICE.
Oh, I want to underline that. Like
every one of us has some sort of encounter.
A Minnesotan or someone from Minneapolis? What do you call people from Minneapolis?
Minneapolitans. Minneapolitan.
Oh, like Neapolitan.
Everyone I've spoken to in my circle who is in Minnesota has had an encounter with ICE. So that's something you need to know. My encounter was, I think it was January 17th. And I don't leave my house much. And after Renee Good died, I didn't leave my house. The whole month of January, I left my house 5 times because it's so scary out there. And I'm so hypersensitive. And my hypersensitivity is hearing. So whistles and sirens and all that is just, it puts me in a freak out mode, nervous system overload. So I do my outreach by doing podcasts, by writing, by spreading the word on Substack. So January 17th, I do leave my house to walk my dog, but I don't go out in public. So every morning at 7 a.m., I go to a local park and I meet my friend Jo and her Siberian Husky German Shepherd, and me and my teeny tiny corgi walk around a lake, no matter what the temperature. So this day it was -4 degrees. And I drive up to the parking lot. This is a city park. So there are ordinances that ICE is not supposed to use public property like city parks and schools, which they're around every school, by the way. There are teachers that can't leave school until midnight because they're scared. So they leave at midnight, come back at 5 a.m. because ICE is patrolling the school, waiting for them to leave. I used to be a teacher, so I'm kind of plugged into the teacher community.
Yeah.
So that day, 7 a.m., it's dark. It's -4 degrees, and I pull into the parking lot, and there are 10 vehicles in the parking lot. There's never anyone there. It's usually just me and my friend Jo. So there's 10 vehicles, and they're all ICE vehicles. They're all no license plates. They're all blacked out. They're all big Jeeps and trucks. And I park in my usual spot, and as I park, they pull out kind of like Humvees in formation, one at a time, and they leave the parking lot. And they turn around and they come back. And they come back right as my friend Jo is coming in. So she comes in and parks, and we get out of our cars and we go for our walk. Right around the time that's all happening, this little bright blue VW something a person gets out of that car, and that person is wearing a reflective vest and a yellow cap, a neon yellow cap, and he starts walking the perimeter of the parking lot. So he is a trained legal observer whose job is just to not interfere and just watch what's happening. So -4 degrees, probably -15 with wind chill. He's walking the perimeter of the parking lot the whole time we're walking around the lake, the whole time these ICE vehicles circled the lot and then reparked. So we get back from our walk, 15, 20 minutes, and he's still walking the perimeter. And if he hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't have gotten out of my car. I would have texted her and said, put Frank in my car quick, we're out. But because he was there, I felt like I'm a white lady, he's a white guy, we're okay. But then when we got back to our cars, they started pulling out again in formation and headlights on, and they drove close enough to our vehicles that we couldn't get to our vehicles. We had to pull off into the snowbank. And so we're standing with our dogs in the snowbank waiting for them to go by, and they drive by us at slower than a walking pace. 6 of them, one at a time. And as soon as you get past us, they speed up and circle around and repark.
Like they're checking you out.
They were, and it was dark out, but they were checking, are they white? Are they okay? And we didn't have whistles. We didn't do anything. They were like daring us, do something, old lady. And I don't fucking care about your dog. Right. Sorry, I cannot swear.
You're welcome to swear here, and yes, if ever a situation deserved it.
Yeah, when they potentially almost harmed your dog, I was like, even more.
It was terrifying, and at the same time, like every part of my bones and my being was like, I've got to stand my ground here. This is my home.
Right.
And so I just went in, I'm a yogi. I just went into mountain pose, and I just went into deep breathing, and I just stood there and stared them down with, we're all okay here. Like, this is a safe space. And they went on by. And on my drive home, after that, at every major intersection where there was a bus stop, there was a person with a reflective vest. And one even had little teddy bear ears. And that said to me that these signal network underground chats, like they know the parts of the city where ICE is patrolling, and they go out immediately. Because there are other times I've driven those roads, days I go to walk the dog, that there's no one standing at those bus stops because ICE isn't patrolling that part of the neighborhood at that time.
Yeah. And
I've been back there, and there haven't been ICE since. A week later, driving home from the dog park, I got passed by EMT and a couple of police cars with their sirens. A mile up the road, I get to an intersection, and there's a head-on collision. So before the police got there, before the ambulance got there, ICE had taken the person in the car and disappeared.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And that's happening on a daily basis here. There are so many cars being left and abandoned, both accidents and not accidents.
That's what my friends from Minneapolis have said that has stuck with me the most, of like, there are abandoned vehicles all over Minneapolis. Just people disappeared, and they just leave the cars.
And then the neighbors have to go move the car out of the way, call the tow truck, deal with the dog in the back seat. And that's what we do. We find a foster for the dog. We stop the car from running. We find out who owns the car, call the family, and figure it out.
Oh my God. Like, we are living in the dystopian horror, right? And Minneapolis is just experiencing it first.
And we are charging the streets singing. There's a group of men, a group of musicians, drummers, are taking their full drum kits out into different parts of the city and drumming out ICE.
Nice.
They did the full Stone Arch Bridge a couple weeks ago, and I think just this weekend they were at all kinds of different locations, including First Avenue.
Oh my God. That
Yeah.
must be powerful to witness. I just, I love the idea of filling the streets with music and drum beats to fight what it is
Right.
you're up against.
Fight
How
hate.
to fight hate. Um,
I
I'm,
I really want to, Terry, I want to ask a question, Dana, if you don't mind.
please do, because I'm like too, like, it's all right here and nothing is quite coming out here yet. So you go.
Well, so I found the concept of highly sensitive people through Barbara Scher. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
Mm-mm.
So she kind of has this concept of scanners, right? Like she mostly approached things from sort of a career. She's written several books on like, you know, they're always kind of funny titles like if I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, like I could do anything if I knew what that was. And her concept was just like there are people who kind of are constantly scanning the environment and are highly attuned. And part of the reason, that they can't really find careers is because we have so many interests. There's so many things that excite us. And, there's kind of a lot of overlap between like highly sensitive person and Barbara Scher's scanners concept and maybe even a little bit of, like kind of how you would describe autism in a way. But I'm curious. So that was how I found the concept of highly sensitive people. And then Dr. Elaine Aron, of course, who has done all of her work. I'm curious about your experience and how you came to the concept and kind of recognize, oh, hey, this is me. This is what this is. Because maybe there are people on our chat today who are scanners or HSPs like us who don't know yet.
I think I might have stumbled across Elaine Aron's work maybe a decade ago.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was my introduction. I think my introduction came in childhood.
Mm.
And in childhood, I went through some pretty minor but significant religious trauma. My parents were and still are deeply, deeply spiritual religious people. And we went to a Lutheran church. And the Lutheran church preached, I love God first, my neighbor second, myself last. And I didn't agree. I was 10 years old and I'm like, why can't, if God's in everything, why don't we just love it all? And the church persecuted me for that.
Oh my gosh. You were a child.
I was a child. I was 10 years old. I was put into timeout and told I was a bad kid and I'd go to hell and blah, 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 blah. And that was my first experience of like, oh, I am weird. I am different. I was the kid who sat on the swings reading books rather than playing with the other kids because there was too much noise and too much stuff going on in the playgrounds.
Right.
And when
hi,
that,
buddy. Me too.
Can attest I was there.
Right. Dana remembers.
Yeah. So when the church persecuted me like that, my dad saw me crying after church and he's like, we're never going back to that church. And they started seeking. My parents started seeking a new church, a new spiritual home and whatever. And they found they were amazing. This was 1983, 1982, 1983.
Yeah.
And they found various intuitive development classes and spiritual awareness classes and intuition and psychics and so forth like that. And my dad went to a class on seeing auras and reading chakras, and he came home all excited. These people have colors. I'm like, yeah, Dad, yours is blue. I've seen them my whole life. As a child, I started to recognize, oh, I'm different. I see things that other people don't see. And I just had a parents that encouraged that. So I kept doing that. And after 10 years of teaching high school, I taught yoga because it made more sense to teach chakras and auras than it did to teach grammar and punctuation. But I've always been more sensitive. I was always the kid, you're too sensitive, you're the weirdo, you're the one that doesn't quite fit in. And then when I started reading Elaine Aron stuff, well, yeah, duh, that's me.
Right.
I think every kid who is sensitive has that level, but your concept of scanners, I think inherently Minnesotans are more attuned to scanning.
Right.
We are the type of people that we notice who's not being fed. We notice who's not getting their needs met, and we just step up and do it. That's why we bring tater tot hot dish to everything, so that we can serve people and feed them for 3 days. It's just who we are. And then there's people like me who take that to a heightened level, because I took all the hearing tests in school and blew the nurse out of the water because my hands kept going up way past the dog whistle type hearing capacity.
Right. Same.
So I'm a weirdo that way, and I just embraced it because my parents embraced it when I was young, rather than being told you should suppress that. I was encouraged.
It's your superpower.
That's amazing.
It is my
it
superpower.
is a superpower. But
I really feel like right now my job is to tell the world, like, that sensitivity is what we need in the world right now as all of this is going on. Because that level of seeing someone in pain, and how do we serve that pain so that it comes to love. And that includes the ICE agents. So yes, if I were in that car being taken away with someone having a seizure, I would be serving that person too.
Yeah.
I would too. Right. I in the moment, that's just how I know that's how I would react. Even if in this moment I'd be like, no.
And there's
in that
something
moment.
you said about
in that human moment. Yes.
People who have gone through trauma are more keyed into that scanning.
For sure.
The more we've experienced trauma, the more we have it in the bones of our ancestry, the more we're alert to it and aware to it. And so one of the comments that just popped up, I hope you can get rid of your Somali problem soon. The Somali people have been through so much trauma that they are more sensitive than the rest of us. And it's the Somalis that are manning our hospitals. It's impossible to show up in a hospital in Minnesota without being cared for by a Somali who really, really pulls their whole heart out and gushes that heart of love over every single patient.
Yeah.
My best friend died January 2020, and I spent 6 months, she fell and broke her neck. And I spent 6 months feeding her breakfast every morning in hospitals and rehab centers and hospitals again before she died. And every single day there were Somali people serving her, washing her, cleansing her, loving her. Every one of them came in, "Hi, Mama, how you doing?" They loved her with so much love because they've been through trauma. That's why we welcome refugees into our state. Heck, my Mayor Her is among immigrant. And you know what she did? She posts videos of herself in her house making egg rolls. Herself, just her, making egg rolls, saying, "I'm going to take these out to the demonstrators." And then she's got her big tray of egg rolls and she's put in her car, and then she comes out and makes a video of herself. "Well, I was trying to take them, but my car won't start because it's cold."
Yeah, so human. The
So human.
impulse to feed and to nurture. Are you looking at comments on YouTube? I assume if people are saying things like that.
Yeah, whatever's on your feed over here on the side. Yeah.
Because I don't.
Oh, you're looking at the unified comments. Yes, so those are coming from YouTube. I'm sorry. Normally I'm good about blocking people. It's just there's so many things to try to pay attention to.
Right, you're streaming in multiple places, and I assure
that
you on
person has just been banned forever. So
I know Substack doesn't have notes like that.
No, in fact, Jessica wanted me to read out from the comments. She said that I'm paraphrasing now because so many comments have come by, but basically, thank you to the people of Minneapolis and how inspiring you are. And I agree. I know we're, oh, and look, you all officially froze my screen. That means we're having a good chat day.
Yeah.
That happens by the end. We do have a question that we ask all of our guests when they come on for the first time that we're going to ask you. And I believe from your storytelling that you are Gen X as we are. We're about the same age. So this question should be right in your wheelhouse. Lawrence, would you like to do the honors?
Yes. So it's really tough. Brace yourself, Teri.
Yeah.
What is the most Gen X song of all time?
The Greatest Love of All by Whitney.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I love that you just knew that in under 3 seconds.
Like you did not even need to think about that.
That's the perfect pick for you.
Right.
Too.
For this conversation.
that really end this conversation. Like, that's what we need, is we need every human soul to believe that they are loved and to love themselves enough that they will love everyone else.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's such a good pick. And
I
I
mean,
feel like, yeah,
and it really is such a Gen X song, right? Because it was absolutely ubiquitous when we were growing up.
yes.
Everyone knew it. If you played it right now in a room of Gen X people, everyone would perk up and probably start singing along to it.
and roll their eyes, but
right, roll their eyes, because we've all heard it 100 million times in our lifetime so
And
far.
it's so earnest, right? But it's so good. And her vocals.
It is an absolutely beautiful song that dominated the charts when it came out. That is such a good pick.
Right. And I have to add that I believe as of yesterday, Jason O'Dell, who's a frequent guest of our show, he's starting a playlist for us, Lawrence.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I
Thank you,
know.
Odell. That's incredible.
Of picks. No one has ever picked it. Maybe someone picked I Want to Dance with Somebody, but no one's ever picked that song. So
yeah,
and we
somebody
don't hear
picked
Whitney
I Want to
very
Dance with Somebody, but like Whitney really is a Gen X mega superstar. Like it's almost hard to, you could say she was the Beyonce of her time, but bigger than Beyonce, right? Because there was just one of her.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Whitney, Madonna, maybe Cyndi Lauper, Michael Jackson. There were like a handful of mega superstars, and
George Michael, Prince.
Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah. Okay. This has
Teri,
been so much fun. Thank you for joining us,
Dana. Thanks for spreading the word about Minnesota.
Yes. Thank you for indulging my whim of like, this seems like a cool human who we all need to know. And I'm so glad we know you now. We should do this again.
I would love to. I'd be honored to come back again. Maybe under better circumstances.
Be our pleasure.
Right.
And next time we're going to talk a lot about HSPs and scanners and and the work that you do, because that's 100% my jam.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Shamanism, 6 years of shaman study.
One of my very best friends is a shamanic practitioner and teacher.
Yeah, I don't think Shar Sundust is on the chat
Shar's
today.
not in the chat, of all days for Shar not to be here.
You should go on her podcast.
Yes,
for sure.
We've got somebody to introduce you to, Teri.
Two people. I also once a month do a crone cocktail hour, kind of witchy hour chat on the new moon with Karen Marie Shelton and Oceana Teffenhart. And I'm like, ooh, you and Oceana would.
Yeah.
We got some introductions to make.
Let's be friends.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to go do a freezer spell right now. Thanks to Teri.
I'm going to go get my kids off to school.
Teri, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Love you, mean it. Bye. Mwah. Mwah.
Mwah.